February 1959. Deep within the frozen Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 experienced hikers began an expedition that should have been just another winter adventure. They had trained for years. They knew these mountains. Nothing about this journey seemed unusual until everything suddenly changed. Leading the expedition was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, accompanied by fellow students and experienced mountaineers. Each member had proven themselves in some of the harshest winters. The expedition officially began. On January 27, 1959, the group traveled by train, then by truck, before finally continuing their journey on foot. For several days, everything went exactly as planned. The hikers laughed together, shared meals, took photographs, and carefully documented every step of their journey. Nothing seemed unusual. They were experienced, well-prepared, confident. The harsh winter, the freezing temperatures, and the endless snow were simply another challenge to overcome. Then, one member of the expedition became ill. His name was Yuri Yudin. Forced to turn back, he believed he would simply meet the group again. When they returned, he never saw his friends again. Without knowing it, Yuri Yudin had become the only member of the expedition who would survive. The remaining 9 hikers continued deeper into the frozen wilderness, completely unaware that every step was leading them toward one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
The expedition continued, exactly as planned. Every morning, the group packed their equipment, checked their maps, and continued deeper into the frozen wilderness. Photographs recovered from their cameras show smiling faces, shared meals, moments of laughter, and friends enjoying what seemed to be another successful expedition. Nothing about those photographs hints at the tragedy waiting ahead. Day after day, the mountains became more isolated. The forests disappeared behind them. The wind grew stronger. The temperature continued to fall, but turning back never crossed their minds. They had trained for this, or so they believed. By the beginning of February, the hikers were approaching the slopes of Kolochsyakhl, a mountain whose name, translated from the local Mansi language, means the mountain of the dead. To experienced climbers, it was simply another destination, another challenge, another mountain to conquer. As daylight slowly disappeared, the weather became increasingly unforgiving. Snow reduced visibility. Powerful winds swept across the exposed slopes. Yet the group pressed forward, completely unaware that they were only hours away from the last normal moments of their lives. On the evening of February 1st, the group made a decision that investigators would debate for decades. Instead of descending into the protection of the nearby forest, they pitched their tent, high on the exposed mountainside, Some experts believe they had simply lost their route. Others suggest they intentionally camped there to practice surviving in extreme conditions. No one knows for certain. What we do know is that this would become their final campsite. As darkness covered the mountain, the hikers prepared dinner, wrote in their journals, adjusted their equipment, and settled in for another freezing night. Everything appeared perfectly normal. Outside, the wind continued to grow stronger. Inside the tent, 9 experienced hikers prepared to sleep. There were no signs of panic, no signs of struggle, no indication that something terrible was about to happen. Then, silence. Days passed. The expedition never returned. Families became worried. Rescue teams were finally assembled and began searching the endless frozen wilderness. At first, they believed they were looking for hikers delayed by bad weather. Instead, they were about to uncover one of the most disturbing mysteries in modern history. Because the first thing they found wasn't a body. It was the tent. Nearly 3 weeks after the expedition had begun, the first rescue teams finally arrived. At Kolatsiakl, the mountain stood silent, frozen, untouched. At first, there was still hope. Perhaps the hikers had simply lost their way. Perhaps they had found shelter somewhere in the forest. No one imagined the mystery had already begun. The rescuers spread across the mountainside, searching every ridge, every valley, every frozen path, hour after hour. They found nothing, only endless snow, only silence. Then, something emerged, half buried beneath the drifting snow. It was the expedition's tent. The tent still stood where it had been pitched, partially buried, frozen in place. No smoke, no movement, no sign of life. As investigators slowly approached, an uneasy feeling settled over the group. Something was terribly wrong. Inside the tent, everything appeared almost untouched. Sleeping bags, heavy winter boots, warm jackets, food, cameras, personal journals, every item the hikers needed to survive the freezing mountain had been left behind. No experienced mountaineer would willingly leave these behind, not in temperatures this deadly. Then, investigators noticed something. That changed everything. The side of the tent had been sliced open, not from the outside, but from the inside. Someone had desperately escaped. But why would 9 experienced hikers leave the safety of their shelter in the middle of a freezing night? Outside, the snow had preserved another clue. A trail of footprints, some wearing boots, others only socks, some completely barefoot. The tracks moved away from the tent, toward the dark forest below. And strangely, there were no signs of panic. They hadn't run. They had walked, as if whatever frightened them was even more terrifying than the freezing mountain itself. The footprints continued for nearly 1.5 kilometers. Step by step, they led rescuers away from the mountain, away from the tent, away from safety. Then, without warning, the trail disappeared. Fresh snowfall had erased almost every remaining clue. The search continued through the frozen forest. Every fallen branch, every shadow, raised new questions. The rescuers hoped to find the hikers alive, but deep inside, they feared. They were already too late. Hours later, beneath a massive cedar tree, someone made a discovery. 2 bodies lying in the snow, barefoot, barely dressed. The freezing temperatures had shown no mercy. The first victims had finally been found. Nearby, investigators discovered the remains of a small fire. Broken branches reached several meters up the tree, as if someone had desperately climbed it, perhaps to look for the tent, Perhaps to escape something hidden in the darkness. No one knew. The two hikers had died from hypothermia, but something didn't make sense. Pieces of clothing had been removed and worn by other members of the expedition. It was a desperate attempt to survive the freezing night. Even in death, they had tried to help each other. The search expanded. Between the cedar tree and the abandoned tent, rescuers found 3 more bodies. One of them was Igor Dyatlov. Their final positions suggested one heartbreaking truth. They had been trying to make their way back. Back to the tent, back to shelter, back to life. But none of them ever made it. For weeks, the search continued, day after day. Rescuers combed the frozen wilderness, but 4 members of the expedition were still missing. Winter refused to give up its secrets. The mountain kept them hidden. Only months later, as the snow finally began to melt, the search teams returned. Deep inside a nearby ravine, covered beneath several meters of snow, they made another discovery. The remaining 4 hikers had finally been found. Unlike the first victims, these hikers had not died from hypothermia alone. Several had suffered massive internal injuries, broken ribs, crushed chests, fractured skulls. The force required was extraordinary. Yet, there were almost no external wounds. Medical experts compared the injuries to those seen in high-speed vehicle collisions. But there had been no vehicle, no explosion, no avalanche debris, nothing nearby, capable of producing such devastating injuries. The evidence raised more questions than answers. Then investigators noticed even stranger details. One victim was missing her tongue. Others were missing parts of their eyes and soft tissue. Some experts believed animals or natural decomposition could explain these injuries. Others remained unconvinced. The surprises did not end there. Tests revealed that some items of clothing contained traces of radioactive contamination. How had radiation reached a remote mountain in the middle of winter? No explanation ever fully satisfied investigators. The mystery was only growing deeper. The Soviet authorities quickly opened an investigation. Investigators examined every photograph, every journal, every footprint, every piece of evidence left behind on the mountain. Yet, the deeper they searched, the less the evidence seemed to make sense. Witnesses later reported seeing strange orange lights moving across the night sky. Around the same time, the hikers disappeared. Some believed they were military flares. Others suggested something far more mysterious. No photographs ever confirmed the sightings, but the stories refused to disappear. Eventually, the official investigation reached its conclusion. The hikers had died because of an unknown, compelling force. No further explanation, no clear cause, just one sentence. That left the entire world searching for answers. Over the decades, researchers proposed dozens of explanations. Perhaps a rare slab avalanche forced the hikers to leave their tent. It remains one of the most widely accepted theories, but even today, some details still don't fit. Others believe secret Soviet military testing may have taken place in the area. Experimental weapons, parachute mines, classified operations. Could the hikers have witnessed something they were never meant to see? No official documents have ever proven it. There were even stranger ideas. Powerful infrasound, creating overwhelming panic. Escaped prisoners, unknown creatures, paranormal forces. Each theory explains one piece of the puzzle, yet none can explain every piece of evidence left behind on that frozen mountain. More than 60 years have passed, yet investigators, historians, scientists, and ordinary people continue searching for answers. Every few years, a new theory emerges, a new analysis is published, a new clue appears to bring us closer, but the mystery always remains. Perhaps the mountain itself holds the final answer, buried beneath layers of snow, lost to time, or perhaps the complete truth disappeared forever. On that freezing night in February 1959, the photographs remain, the journals remain, the camera films survived, the footprints, the tent, the injuries, the official reports, all became pieces of an enormous puzzle. But one crucial piece has never been found: the truth. 9 young explorers set out to conquer the mountains. Instead, their story would become one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. Their names, their photographs, and their final expedition would never be forgotten. So, what really happened on Dyatlov Pass? Was it a natural disaster, a tragic chain of events, or something we still don't understand? Perhaps the mountain knows, and perhaps it always will, until the next hidden file. Some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved.